everyone, welcome to our Fearless Power podcast. Today we have a special guest on. It's Kathy Wakile. Kathy, thank you for coming out and being on our podcast today. We're very excited to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And Kathy's a really good friend of mine. I met her 2 years ago.
I would say, yeah.
2 years ago?
2 years ago,
At a Tony Robbins seminar.
Yeah.
No way. I didn't know that.
Had so much fun together. I fell in love with her from the moment I met her. She's always been a huge inspiration and mentor, and I really appreciate having you in my life. And I'm really excited to have you on today.
Thank you. I feel the same. You guys, you and Phil, your husband, I don't know if everybody knows Phil, but we're just so warm and welcoming, and we hit right away.
Yeah.
And, we're kindred spirits, hairdressers,
We really are.
And then it helped that our husbands really just meshed together well too.
They really did.
Yeah.
We both have that ball busting mentality.
Yes, I love it.
They're on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
So Kathy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, a lot of people know me from the Real Housewives of New Jersey, of course, but before that, I was a hairdresser. So, I was a stay-home mom. Then before that, I was a hairdresser. So like I said, when we're kindred spirits, because this is, I feel totally at home here. I loved being a hairdresser. There wasn't a day that I felt like it was work. You get to meet people every single day, talk to friends every day because your clients become your friends, right?
Yeah.
And you get to be creative. And so ever since I was a little girl, I always had that creative, side of me. I'm an artist at my core. I wanted to be an artist, actually. Then my father talked me out of it. He was like,
What
gotta be able to
age?
feed
What age did you
yourself.
go to beauty school? Was it like high
So
school?
I went to high school. I went to a vocational high school. I went to State County Tech. And so while I was in high school, I was earning my
Doing
hours.
Voltec.
And so
It was the best route.
It was the best thing, because while other people graduate from high school, then they have to go to beauty school. I had all my hours in already.
too.
A lot of the girls that I went to beauty school with, though, or high school with, and they were in my class, went on to go to beauty school as well, because they didn't take advantage of what the high school had to offer, and that was the sad part. So I started working in the salon. My first job, actually, outside of my dad's store, my father was a shoemaker. So I came from very humble beginnings. My father was a shoemaker. My mother was a seamstress. And I worked with my dad in the store. And then when I got my first job, it was at 13 years old in a shoe store. The addiction started very young with the shoes, And then I used to take the bus home from school. I changed my route to get dropped off because it was a county school, to get dropped off right near the shoe store that I worked in. And then I would pass in that little shopping center, there was a hair salon. And I was already enrolled in the cosmetology program at school. And I would stop in there. Do you need anybody, to help out on Saturdays, to shampoo, to sweep hair? I just wanted to be in it.
Yeah.
And they finally hired me, and I shampooed and I cleaned up. I did that for a while. At 13, 14 years old. I lied about my age.
That's amazing that you started so young.
Yeah.
And you already knew that early on.
Yes.
Wow.
Because as a kid, so my mom and dad, the best Christmas present I ever got was the Barbie head.
Okay.
And so I used to have it like those days we had radiators. So I had it secured on the radiator, and I would just sit there watching I Dream a Genie and doing hair and watching all these fantastic makeup commercials, with my mom watching soap operas and stuff. And then I would put the makeup on the doll and the hair, and I did it from a very young age. So
I was gonna say, so you knew from a young age.
I knew from a young age.
Did they support you for the whole time? Okay, that's amazing.
Although my father did want me to go to college, because I was a good student too. I took all my academic classes in high school, and so I was really smart too. And then I just didn't, because I wanted to go into fashion then, and it was like, what am I going to do?
Any industry.
It was anything that I could be creative and
use your hands.
I love that. Yeah. And so I just stuck with being a hairdresser because it was really fun to me. And it was.
And how long did you do that for?
So I did it right out of high school. Then I got my first chair, my first full-time job. And then I did it up until my daughter was born. And so that from 18, I would say, until I was 28. So I did that for a good
And I feel like a lot of people don't know that about you, because when you told me, I was like, oh my God, you did hair. And I think I knew you for a little bit before you told me that.
Right, exactly.
And I love that even more because it explains everything else that you've done.
Yeah, and so like I said, I loved it. I worked 4 days a week. I had a huge client list. I was booked every 15 minutes or so.
Machine.
Which is so different nowadays.
Yeah.
It takes us forever to do everything.
Yeah, and I would squeeze people. Like I would say, if you can't get an appointment with the receptionist, ask to talk to me, and I would get in early in the morning. Like I would stay.
You hustle.
And
you love the clients.
I love the clients, and I just love the work so much. So I was happy to do it. And you know, I at that time I was earning more than my husband was, and it was fantastic. Like I said, it didn't feel like work ever.
Yeah.
It feels like you never have to work another day. That's what we were saying in our last podcast. Like just loving the love of your job.
Yeah.
You go every day and you're happy.
Oh, absolutely. Because
you can do those 5 days and not feel like it's 5 days.
100%. And the work is not like it's difficult work. Yeah. It's what the personalities, what makes it a little difficult. And then the scheduling. Like I would tell my clients, listen, if I'm going to squeeze you in, and I'll do the same for you. I'll do the same for that one. I'll do the same for that one when I can do it. Please don't stress me out by telling me that I'm running late or
never. Never do that.
Don't stress me out with that, because
under stress.
Then, because then, you know, I want to give everybody their time.
The same time, the same respect and time and work. Yeah.
And what year did you have your daughter?
So I had my daughter in 1994. No, 1994. I had, because my son was 2 years later.
I was going to say.
2 years later. So she's actually 30 years old. She turned 30 in January, and then my son was 2 years later. He was 1996.
Did you go back to work in the salon when you had your kids? No.
I always planned that I was going to go back, but what happened was it didn't make sense to me because I didn't really have anybody to watch my daughter, and to put my daughter in childcare, to go back to work. It wasn't like I was going back for benefits or whatever.
Right.
And
you'd be paying.
I'd be paying, and it didn't make sense to me. I have so much respect for women that go back to work after they have children. It's so hard to do that because once I had my daughter, then I was like, I don't ever want to leave the house. I don't ever want to leave her. And so I feel so bad for women that are forced to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I was lucky that my husband did well and I didn't have to go back to work, but at the same time, I notice a lot of people go back to work just to have the extras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't condemn or put anybody down for that, but the time that you spent with your children, for me, was invaluable.
You can't relive those little moments.
No, you can't. And they're never young again.
Yeah, they're never young again. And so, like, if I didn't have my mom or a family member, I just didn't. For me, I didn't want to put my child in child care because I wasn't getting benefits or anything like that. Like, there wasn't any kind of like, I wasn't getting insurance or anything like that from my job. So, what was I going back for? For a few extra bucks, so I could get a new bag, so I could go and, you know.
You valued your time at home with your kids more than the bag and the expense, the actual expenses.
Did I miss having my own thing? Yeah,
of course.
I mean, there were days like I wanted to, especially when my son came, I wanted to pull my hair out. I would go outside, I'd make sure that they were secure, and I would go outside and scream on the deck. You know, just.
I was going to ask if you had a moment like that.
I had lots of moments like that because my husband worked in retail. He was in the gas station business, and so he was out of the house 7 days a week. You know, every day from morning till night. Yeah. And so I was alone a lot of time, and with just the kids. And so,
how did you keep your creativity flowing? Because you're a very creative person. Yeah. So how did you keep it flowing even when you just stayed home with your kids? Like, was there anything specific that you did for that?
100%.
All the arts and crafts.
Arts and crafts. I started baking a lot. Well, first of all, I started entertaining. My husband's Lebanese. The Middle Eastern culture, along with being Italian, you just entertain a lot. You know, you have people over all the time, and I loved every minute of it. You know, so I would do that. And so when it came to like entertaining, I would like really pay attention to
the details.
The details, and I love that. And then I started painting. I always painted when I was younger, but then I started painting on things, drawing again, making, and then I got into baking, making the kids' birthday cakes. I started watching people get these extravagant birthday cakes out, and I was like, I'm not spending that much money. I could do that.
Yeah.
And I started doing it, and then I realized how much I loved it.
Yeah.
And then I did still dabble in hair,
At home?
family.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
did a few clients at home.
do you still do clients?
I did
at all?
I don't do clients at
Family.
home. I just do family. Like
Yeah.
my mom, my sister, my husband. Every once in a while, up until like not too long ago, I was doing his hair solely, But now he gets it done. But anytime anybody wants me to help them out, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
I love to keep my hands in it.
And then you got back into painting at that time too.
Yeah, painting. I start like anything that I could do to make
That's
something and use my hands, I did. And so
Okay.
that's what was another. And then I started gardening, and like I really just embraced being a housewife.
Yeah,
like a real
of
deal
course.
Yeah,
housewife.
yeah.
Art projects with the kids, whatever it was. I just always will watch somebody do something, and I feel like I want to do it myself. Like I have to be honest, I love this table, and I'm thinking,
Take it home.
no, I can make this. I want to make this too. I can make this.
You have to take a picture
Yeah.
before you leave
Yes.
so you can make this
And then
table.
send me a photo later.
I 100% can do this. I refurnish furniture. Like that's just who I am. I want to get my hands in there.
Yeah.
So
You should
yeah.
have some furniture in your house that you did yourself.
I have already in my house bookcases that I repainted. I sanded down. I refinished them. Gave them a whole. COVID was my time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
when
just
there's
was
nothing
like
else to do.
bored.
Yeah.
You couldn't go shopping.
Any
I just,
project.
Yeah, any project will do. Yeah.
So then from there, when did you start with the Housewives and being on TV? Like, was that a few years after your kids were born?
Yeah, so my kids started getting older, and again, I embraced every part of being a mom. Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much I was going to love it until I became a mom.
Of course.
And like being a wife, and I really did, and being like doing everything at home. I really loved it, and I for all the women out there that feel like they don't get the credit for doing just that, you know what? You deserve, don't
Yeah.
sell yourself short. If
Yeah.
that's what you choose to do, please don't ever sell yourself short, because that's one of the most important jobs in the world. And if you embrace that,
So true.
there's so much more time for you to go back to your career.
I
And
feel
some-
like, Darlene, we were just talking about this
Yeah.
with our podcast, like how we were saying, are we ever going to have extra time at home? And like, are we going to be okay just being at home? Because we work so much. Like,
Right.
we're like,
We're
literally
very
just to be
go-go.
on the phone with each other, we have to schedule it.
Right.
Because we're always like taking care of everybody else. And then when we get home, we're dead. So
Yeah.
I feel like just like getting to know you, and like that inspired me to be home more and be more okay with doing the little things at home instead of making everything being a chore. Because I'm
course.
always like, what's next? What's next?
Yeah.
What's next? And then
Right.
I got to get back to work on Tuesday, and I got to do this and that.
Right.
So slow it down a little. That's actually
slow-
very inspiring.
Yeah, if you slow it down and you appreciate everything for what it really is in that moment, I think it's so important, because then it doesn't seem like a chore.
Right.
Baking, or even like, I don't know, it's gonna seem stupid, but washing the dishes, like clearing up after you've made a meal for your family, or just embracing that time together. Like, I'm a big believer in the here and now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, is my mind racing about things I have to do after I leave here? Sure, I'm human, but right now I'm just so blessed to be here with you two ladies, and I feel like I'm so grateful that I get a chance to do this and,
Yeah.
and share my thoughts and share a little bit of my wisdom, because I am older than you too. So I'm really enjoying that this time with you. So I think it's an important thing to know and to realize young in your life.
And I feel like when we talked a little bit before the podcast, you said it's okay not to have everything figured out. So after you're stay home with your kids, you opened up Pizza Love?
No. So I went.
with-
So it was time. My kids were getting older, and I was talking about they didn't need me as much. Like, they were doing things. They're getting more independent. That's what you raise them for.
To do,
be. That's the hardest thing, by the way. The job of a parent is to raise your children to be independent and to be able to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
The hardest job is to do that, but then the even harder job is to let go and let
them blossom.
Yeah.
do it on their own.
Yeah.
That is like,
You're like, wait, I have
It's
to
like, I'm not ready yet.
yeah, and choked up just thinking about it. That's the hardest job, to let them just be free.
And they're not a baby anymore.
Yeah. Right. So then after that, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with myself? I'm in my 40s. I still want to like do stuff. I still have to do stuff. What am I going to get a chair again? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's like, what? How are we going to go on vacation the way we do? You're going to tell your clients that you're out? I could have.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, then maybe I'll get a job in working in a clothing store. And he's like, really? You're gonna go and work in like a job in a clothing store for somebody else? He's a businessman,
yeah,
so he's always got that entrepreneur, like go open up your own
store.
And then I was cooking so much, and so and baking and doing all this stuff, and I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna open up a catering, business. That's what I really wanted to do. And that didn't suit, like you have to find what works for your family too. So then all of a sudden, Housewives, I was contacted by a casting director, and they didn't tell me it was for Housewives. They just said they were casting for a reality show, and I thought that it was food related because they said that they worked with Food Network and TLC and all these other networks and Bravo too. And I thought, okay, maybe I'm going to get, they're interested in me in cooking. And so I wasn't going to do Housewives because I really didn't feel like I fit in with them. But my husband was like, listen, you don't like it, you don't have to do it anymore. You just try it. You never know what's
going to come out of it. Yeah.
And I'm not a confrontational person. I hate drama. I hate to get into confrontations with anyone. I will shut my mouth and take it on the chin just so I don't fight.
Avoid.
But you know what? I did it. And I learned at that time how to find my own voice as well.
Yeah.
And I learned also that I was really good at doing a lot of things that I took for granted every day. Like people saw me cooking on TV and they were like, oh my God, I want this recipe. I want that recipe. I want this. And then I got an offer for a cookbook. And I'm like, what? Me? A cookbook? I don't even know how to write a recipe. How am I going to, I would wing it.
I just throw things in a pot. Yeah.
And so I never expected that would come. And I always wanted the business, the restaurant, you know? And then we talked about it for so many years, but then a restaurant needs your time. And I was doing the show, and that demanded a lot of time.
Of course.
A lot of time. And my first priority was my family, because being away from the house with the show, filming, even though that they were a big part of the show, I still wanted to do everything. I was still cleaning my house. I was still doing my laundry. I was still cooking meals, and I was still hands-on with my kids. And so I'm like, how am I going to open up a restaurant now? Even though it would have been great because, it would have been a great premise, a great storyline. But guess what? You put your own money on with those storylines. And if you don't have the time to devote to it, that storyline is a big black hole that you just keep dumping money into. And we weren't going to do that. When you do things, you have to be authentic to it. You have to stay on point, and you have to, especially when you're investing your own money.
You have to give it your all.
You have to give it your all.
Can I ask you, how did they initially find you to ask you to be on the Housewives? Because at that time, Instagram wasn't huge, and I feel like nowadays everything is Instagram based or just social media.
You can just get a DM from someone.
Exactly.
Nowadays.
And that's how it started. I did get an inbox in my Facebook, but how I got found was so the casting directors, what they would do was they would go to boutiques, salons, restaurants, really happening, vibey restaurants, and see who their normal clientele was, their regulars were.
Okay. And
so I remember I bought this dress for my daughter's sweet 16 party, and it was one of these really expensive dresses, and they were looking at this boutique, and so the boutique asked me, oh, can you send us a picture? We like to put our clients up. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I sent her the picture, and she posted on her Facebook, and so that's how they contacted.
Wow.
I think it could have been there. It could have been that the Sweet 16 party was at the Brownstone as well, and it was wild. It was like a wild party. I mean, we had flamethrowers. it was a Sweet 16 party.
Of course, that was amazing.
We had belly dancers.
Yeah.
I mean, it was wild.
Lebanese style.
I made all the centerpieces. I baked all the cupcakes.
You still made the centerpieces and the cupcakes.
I did all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, so it was just really wild. And so who knows, it could have been from there.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's how they contacted me and found me.
And was the Cannoli Company first, or was Pizza Love first?
The Cannoli Company, then the
first.
desserts was first. So how that happened was I did, for one of the episodes, it was Thanksgiving, they asked me if I can make a huge, gigantic cannoli and fill it with cream. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I will make a big cannoli shell and I'll fill it with little cannolis, and then I'll have all these other desserts. And so people were just blown away by my dessert table. And that's where, I'm sorry, but I think I kind of had something to do with these little dessert trends starting, that whole dessert thing. Because once I did that, I started seeing it everywhere.
Dessert tables
Like that.
With
all the
little
minis.
baking,
Yeah. And I was always making little minis because I love desserts.
You like to pick little
And I
tastes.
like to taste one of
Yeah.
everything. I can't decide on one.
Yeah.
So anyway.
That's a great concept.
So Indulge is the name of my cookbook and the name of my brand. And it was like, you can indulge and, live a little. This is what life is about. It's about indulging, but just know that everything has to be done in moderation.
Yeah.
And so I put full fat, I put sugar, I put butter, I put what needs to be done and what needs to be had in a dessert. So you feel like you're indulgent, I just make it small.
I love that.
That way you don't feel like,
Her
you don't
cannolis
feel
are very
guilty.
good.
I love that.
I was
I
going to bring
gotta
them
try
today
it.
and I'm so sorry I
I
didn't.
have gotten her cannoli kit before. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's available on goldbelly.com. by the
Nice,
way.
nice.
Yeah.
It is
So-
very good. We did it for the party at Bar.
Yes.
When we had it.
It and
was
so
really
then I
good.
came up with the cannoli kit, that how you can make your own little cannolis at home, and they come delivered to your door frozen. You fill them at home, and so that's
You improvise
yeah.
from a cookbook that you
From the
got
cookbook,
offered,
and then from the cannolis, and then Pizza Love came after. After we were off the show, then we started really like looking into a space, and a lot of people ask me, well, where'd you come up with the name? And one of my partners, so I have partners there, and that's our mutual friend.
Yep.
And we were sitting around brainstorming about a name, and I was like, I don't know, I just love pizza. And so my one partner said, how about Pizza Amore? And I was like, no, I've heard that before, and and then we were like, he goes, well, Pizza Love? And I go, yes. I go, that's it. He goes, what do you mean? I go, yes, stop in for a piece of love. Stop in for a slice of Pizza Love. We're all about peace and love. And so it was like, I love that.
It was the whole vibe.
It was the whole
Yeah.
vibe.
It does flow.
Yeah,
It does
Pizza
flow.
Love, because I love pizza. And then I just, it's my favorite food. If you ask me what's your last meal on earth going to be, it's going to be pizza.
But
And
a good pizza.
a good pizza. Honestly, I have to be honest. I love pizza anyway. I don't care.
Even if it's not a good slice.
I'll eat it right out of the fridge. And the other thing about pizza is, although I can probably eat a whole pizza, it's not something that you usually do. It's meant to be shared. And so just like love is shared.
Yeah.
pizza is
I
shared.
love that. There's a whole.
It's a whole feeling.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Good name, I love
Yeah. And so I think that we talked earlier about starting a brand and what do you do? What's your concept for a brand? I think what you need to do is be authentic to yourself.
Right.
And excuse me, I heard Martha Stewart say this about, and I love Martha Stewart, so I'm not hating on her. I heard her say this about Gwyneth Paltrow one time when she was starting Goop. Her Gwyneth Paltrow's brand Goop.
Yes.
And she was getting into lifestyle and this and that. And she said, you know what? Stay in your lane. And as much as I love Martha Stewart, I have to disagree with her. There are no lanes anymore. Women should not be defined at what they either went to school with or the box that somebody put you in.
Yeah.
You have the ability to switch lanes.
To change at any point in time.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
anytime you want. And if COVID didn't teach us that, we pivoted so much.
Right.
And as women, and I don't want to take anything away from men. I love men. I think they're great.
We need them.
We need
yeah,
them.
we need
They
them.
have a purpose.
100%. But women, it's in our DNA, pivoting.
It really
and
is.
switching lanes. We go from these little girls that were under our parents, and then we go through puberty and we're changing constantly.
We are constantly changing.
And then we become mothers and we have to pivot there, wives, and we have to take it into consideration what our husbands want us to do and how that works for our family dynamic. And then we're mothers and we still have our own needs.
Yep.
We still have our own desires and our own goals and our own ambitions, but the needs of others always come first.
Always comes first.
Always come first.
Always comes first.
And you know what? We're good with it because we know how to
we just
pivot.
know how to how to figure it out.
We're naturally born
To
with
pivot.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. So this whole pivot thing that everybody, you need to learn how to think. We've been doing that for a long time, and we know how to do it.
Did we really have to pivot after the pandemic? Yeah, of
We
course.
did.
There was a lot of major
Sure.
pivoting, but
It
we
came
already
natural
had,
to us.
Yes.
It came natural to us because we're used to it, and so pivoting from you yourself, you started, you're a hairdresser, right?
Yep.
Did you think that you were going to be an educator?
Never.
Did you think you were going to be a business owner?
Never.
Did you think that
It was a goal, but not
But
reality.
even in
Right.
the beginning, did you ever see yourself even sitting here or sharing your life with other people? In beauty school, I wanted to work 9 to 5, get a commission, and go home.
You told me
Right.
to talk in front of a room of people, education or podcast, I
Yeah.
would have threw up on the floor.
Yeah.
100%? Yeah, what, me? Get up. But when you are
Stutter.
speaking
Yeah.
on what you know,
Yeah.
It comes naturally.
it comes naturally. So for me, I was on QVC 3 times.
Yes.
So you go through the training and all that stuff, and they tell you are the expert in your product. So we're going to ask you the questions, and you're the expert on your product.
Mm-hmm.
And you just need to, you don't have to sell it, you just need to talk about what your product is.
Yeah.
You are your product.
Yeah.
And whatever is authentic to you, it's going to be believable. People are going to, when you speak on it, people are going to gravitate towards it. They're going to
It's
relate
so
to it.
true.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
it's who you are.
Yeah.
And so you never have to make anything up. You never have to think, oh, what was I going to say? Because it's who you are. It's like when you tell the truth, you never have to remember
Right.
anything because you're just telling the truth.
Yeah.
It's who you are. And so I think the number one thing with brands is if it feels right to you, then you have to go with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to just flow, let it flow, because it's gonna, and the more you open up with that, you don't know where the legs of
Right.
that
And I
new
feel like it
venture's gonna
comes
go.
at the right time naturally.
Yes.
I'm a true believer in that. Actually, we talked about this earlier, how I had DM you
Right.
4 years ago, 5, I don't even know when.
Right.
And I have it on my DM and I said, oh my God, I can't wait to have you on my podcast. And I looked back on the DM, I was like, oh my God, I DM'd her 4 years ago asking to do her hair for free. So I would have been probably a nervous wreck if I met you 5 years ago, right?
Right.
But naturally, I feel like it just happens. You're now here and it's so comfortable and it's at the perfect time for us
The
to
universe
meet or go
circles
through
back
it.
around.
It's
100%.
just, and it's
Yeah.
like going through the experiences and learning and learning how to pivot and get to where you want to be.
Right.
And you
right.
don't know. You don't know.
And
where
by
are you going to
being
be?
brave and reaching out to me at that time, I'm so sorry I didn't see your
No, you
your
never
DM.
read it.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't see
It's
it.
okay. Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
That is a true, authentic thing, and nobody should feel held back by doing something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what? I didn't answer,
Yeah.
but we're here today.
Yeah.
And maybe I would have answered. That's what happened with my current hairdresser. He kept, I want to do your hair. I want to do your hair. I want to do your
Yeah.
hair. And after I was with him, I stuck with him.
Yeah.
I'm a loyal person that way, and it opened a lot of doors for him
Yeah.
too,
Right.
just by being brave and
Right.
putting himself out there, and just like you did. And if it didn't happen this time, don't let it discourage
No,
you
yeah.
from doing it another time, because when it's meant to be, I hate that cliche, but it's so true.
Right.
It
And
really
when the
is true.
time
It's
is
not
right.
a cliche for no reason. It's true.
Right. And when the time is right, it just happens
Exactly.
naturally without you
Exactly.
forcing the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it'll
absolutely.
work.
It will
Like
work,
it
yeah.
could happen if you force the situation, but maybe it won't
Did
work.
you tell your men I love you yet?
So my husband has this on my phone, so at 5 o'clock I should tell him I love him.
I love that. That's amazing.
Part of showing feelings.
That's
We were
so
having that at
good.
the other podcast, how I have a hard time showing feelings. I'm like numb to it from like having a divorced parents.
Right.
And then he literally sets a reminder so I can
That
call
is
him and say I love him.
funny.
That's so good. That's so good. My husband has, did you drink enough water today?
The standard.
Oh my
So
God.
after your cookbook and after your Indulge with Kathy, the cannolis, did you end up doing a cooking show?
No,
You didn't.
no. And that is,
Or
it
you
still
wanted to-
tugs on me.
Yeah.
You
Because
know?
I feel like your personality, everything that you are and that you love is
That
That would be
yeah.
full
I
circle.
would love to still do that, and I have done my, I'll do lives on social media.
that's a cooking
I have
show
to,
in
yeah,
itself.
it is, and I have to
Yeah.
get my I have to get my YouTube channel set up, and I could, but you know what it is, I need really good camera people, so
Right.
that would help because it's hard doing it all.
It
So you
really
can
is.
just like show up, cook, and go.
Exactly. Prep
Yeah.
the kitchen. And right now I'm in between spaces. We're in between homes. So I don't have the counter space to cook.
Yeah.
But I'll go back. I did teach cooking
That's what it
for
was.
a college
Yes.
in Memphis. And here's a perfect example of pivoting. So I would go down to Memphis and teach in this cooking school, and I would do publicity for the cooking school
Yeah.
as well on their local affiliate TV stations down there. I'd do a demo, and then I would go into class and teach the class, 2 or 3 classes while I was there for the weekend, and then they opened up this beautiful lab, a culinary lab just for me, and I would, it was amazing. And then COVID hit, and they were like, okay, we're no travel. And I said, okay, no problem. And then the Zoom started. And so I spoke to the administrators there, and I said, well, how about if I Zoom cook, the classes? And they were like, well, I don't know, this is gonna end soon. And I said, okay, but you're paying me regardless, because I'm under contract. You're still paying me to, and I'm not doing anything.
Right.
I just don't feel right about it. So I said, what about we Zoom? Let's get this
Let's
set
do
up.
something.
Let's do something, because
Yeah.
I just don't feel right about it. And they were like, no, it's okay. So a month passed, 2 months passed, and then I, again, revisited. I said, we have to get, these people are home. We're not going back to work.
Yeah.
We're not going into the classroom yet. Everybody's set up for Zoom. Why aren't you? And then they set it up. They got the program set up. I did that for another 3 years
Wow.
afterwards. I fulfilled my contract, and I had a 4-year contract with them, and it was great because then they recorded everything that I did, and so they used those classes for all
The
of their
next
other
ones.
classes. It
Yeah.
wasn't just these 2 classes that I taught, and they saved money on my travel, and I was ready. I was able to reach a broader audience and a broader enrollment. And it was fantastic, and I loved it, and it felt so natural to me, And so I hope to get that back
Keep
again.
that going, yeah.
I had a podcast. Never thought that would happen.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
And
I
I remember
did.
listening to it.
Yeah, and it was great because I pulled my family into it. I had guests.
That was 2
But-
years ago? No, that was during the pandemic.
It was right before the pandemic.
Right before, yeah.
Yeah, and then, so a big premise of it was traveling and indulging. That's what it was called. Eat, live, love, indulge. And so it was all about
You incorporated everything.
everything, living, traveling, all that. And then, like I said, the pandemic hit, and then it was, my subject matter
Yeah.
changed a bit. And then there was not a lot of content that I could, because it was based off my travels, and I
Yeah.
wasn't traveling. So I would like to start. That's one of my goals, to get going back again.
For
with the-
2024?
Well, I don't know if it's going to happen for 2024. You never know, because there's so many things
Yeah.
happening in my life right now. So, but I would like to get started again.
What are you doing right now? What's going on in your life now?
So right now we are getting ready to start building our new house. So like I said, we were in between homes. We sold our home that we built from the ground up. Unexpectedly, it was not for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And
Was that an emotional like to be able to let go, or you like?
Well, it
was
wasn't
an
so much
easier
the
way?
house
Yeah.
that I was like, oh, I love this house. It's my dream house. It was my dream house. I did love the house, but I didn't mind selling it. It was just that I didn't have a place to live.
Yeah.
Right.
And we had to go find a place to live. And I've been fortunate that I never rented before in my life, and now we're renting. And so it feels really weird. So I made it homey, but not too homey.
It's not the home yet.
I know in the back of my head, it's not my home.
Yeah.
I'm going to be somewhere else. And so I'm just.
I remember when you were looking for your house.
Remember that?
You were like, I'm getting this house.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she said it. Was it even on the market?
No.
It wasn't on the market
I met you right after I saw this house.
Yes. And she's like, I'm getting this house. She was telling all of us, I'm doing it. I'm getting it. It's not even on the market. That will be my house. She manifested it so much.
Oh, yeah. I saw myself.
You envisioned it.
I envisioned
Like
myself
walking,
cooking and serving and entertaining
Yeah.
and the whole bit. The candles that were lit, I envisioned it all. The dinner on the table, everything. And her husband kept telling me, Phil kept telling me, it's yours. It's already yours.
It's already yours.
It's already yours. And they probably were so sick of hearing you talk
Well,
about
we were. We
and
were
they're
like, she has to get that house.
What's going on with the house? It's not for sale. And I'm like, I keep writing letters. It's not for sale.
I keep making offers, but it's not high enough yet.
Yeah, it was in probate.
Oh my goodness.
It was an estate sale.
Yeah.
And so yeah. And I got the house, and it was supposed to be a renovation. And my husband walked in the day of the closing with a sledgehammer, as he always does, and he started knocking shit down. And so, unfortunately, the house wasn't built the way it should
Supposed
be
to
built.
be.
And it was an old house, and so it wasn't savable, which I was upset about because I really wanted to save the house.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to honor the former owners of the house by keeping the footprint
Okay.
and keeping her vision. I kind of feel the energy of this house. She tried to get what I'm going to build there.
I love that.
So it was a mid-century ranch.
Okay.
It's going to be a ranch,
Yep.
but she had a lot of European flair. The woman that lived there, I don't know her.
I was gonna say,
she
did you
passed
ever
away.
meet her?
No.
Okay.
But I got the feeling by her decor and the elements that she had in the house, and so I want to honor that
Just going to upgrade it a little.
and upgrade it. And
Yeah.
like
A
I
little
felt
upgrade.
when I walked through that front door that I felt harmony,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna try and honor that.
That's
with
how you know
plans.
the house is right. When
Yeah.
you feel that good feeling when
Yeah.
you walk in.
As soon as you walk in, you feel it.
And I
Yeah.
remember you sending me a picture of a backyard, your inspiration of
Yeah.
what the backyard was going to look like. And you were like, I can't wait to host everybody.
Yes, I
and this
can't.
is what it's going to look like, and the music. And you had the whole vision.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She's very like
Vision board.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. I walk. That's how I designed my
Yep.
other house. I would walk with the architect, visually walk through. This is what I want to feel. This is going to go here. This is going to go
Yeah.
there. That's exactly what I did. And I work closely now with Dan D'Agostino over at Planet Architecture, and it's
Everything's finally done.
the plans are done. We have to submit, and hopefully we'll get started soon.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then, so what is your goal for 2024?
Well, I can't believe it's halfway done already.
We're halfway
Yeah,
done.
We're halfway done.
We're halfway done.
We'll get started on the house, and
You think
you
you're
know-
going to host Christmas there?
I don't know. 6 months is short.
Okay.
Too
time.
short.
Yeah, too short.
Starting from the ground up.
Yeah, we're starting from the ground up now. But at least for 2025, we'll be in there for Christmas for there. And I don't know. Right, I would like to get the podcast going. So, and maybe incorporate the building of the house in the podcast.
Oh, I love that.
And the
Yeah.
design challenges and show the process, because a lot of people are very invested in that.
I love that.
They, in my other house they were, because I shared a lot, and the kitchen, I built the house around the kitchen.
Of course.
And this is kind of going to be the same thing.
Because you need your kitchen for everything
yeah.
that you want to do.
Yeah, it's at the heart of the home.
Yeah.
So, everything starts there.
Everything starts at the kitchen, and it
Yeah.
ends there too.
It
That's
ends
how
there,
people
too.
exit out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm looking forward to that. And so, yeah. So that's that's a thing.
Any trips or?
Well, there might be a last minute. We love to travel.
I know that.
Yeah.
She always
And-
has a good trip.
Yeah, we always have a really, we do a European summer, but now with the house being built, we're kind of hands-on with the
Yeah.
house. So I don't know that we're going to do that. It may be a last minute thing. I have a few bucket list places that I'd like to visit. Sardinia is one of them. San Sebastian, they're always food related places.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have to go where the good food is.
Exactly.
You don't want to go on vacation and not have
And
good
not have
food.
good food.
So I want to go back to Portugal again.
Yeah.
I would like to go to the Azores.
Me too.
The Azores or
I haven't made it there yet.
Azores, that's how you say it. And so I'd love to go there. We'll see, who knows? It may be last minute. I may be telling you, hey, guess where I am?
We're there in August.
I know, you never know. So,
That would be amazing. Well, I feel like you had a really amazing journey.
yeah, and and I want to encourage people not to feel like just because just because what you were doing before doesn't have to define you.
Yeah.
You can pivot and you can start something new and try it out. And if it doesn't work, it's okay that it didn't work. You tried it.
Right.
Who wants to live a life that you said, oh, I should have did this. I wish I did that. You
The
try
unknown.
it. Yeah, try
You
it.
would rather regret and learn from the mistakes than saying I never did it
Exactly.
before.
Because
Yeah.
then
I wish I
that
did it.
You
Yeah.
get the knowledge
Right.
Right.
of like, okay, I did this, it didn't work. What could I do differently next time? If you don't try it at all, there's no knowledge, there's no
It's the unknown. You
drive.
will never
Right.
know.
Exactly.
And
Right.
that's probably the worst feeling to go into your, time when it's time to go that you didn't try
What a goal
things.
saying,
I did everything.
I did everything that I wanted to.
Yeah.
I want to go knowing that I did everything, I accomplished everything, I lived my life to the fullest.
And if it
I
didn't work
traveled.
out, this road sometimes it doesn't work out, but it leads you to something.
It opens up
else.
to a
Failure
full
is
other.
success too.
Exactly, 100%.
Well, learning from the mistakes,
Yes.
your life,
Yeah.
it's always success to me nowadays. Like I
Yeah.
feel like it's just coming for something better.
And being
Yeah.
able to let go of something and being okay with it. Like, for instance, we had to let go of one of our salons recently. The lease was up, it wasn't worth it. We let go of it with like a clear conscience of like,
Knowing you tried everything.
we did everything.
Right.
It was great. It was a great ride. We don't need it. We're okay. We let it go on the month that the salon did the best in like the past 6 months. And that right there proves that when you make a decision and you stick to it because you know it was the right decision, it's okay. And that could be looked at as failure. You close the salon, but we didn't look at it that way. We looked at it as that's going to allow us letting
free
go
up
of
time
that
To open
do
up time
to
for
do
something else.
Exactly.
100%.
You know, so
Yeah.
everything has a purpose.
Yeah, and remember something. Starting something new. I hear this from one of my favorite authors. He says that everyone was a beginner once. A master was a beginner once.
Yep.
So you keep going at it, and each time you learn a little bit more, and you perfect, and you keep
Yeah.
just. It's like a stone that just keeps rolling, and you just keep gathering more, like a snowball.
Yeah.
And it may open up different avenues, and you know what? Take that road. You never know what's gonna. Listen, we were selling our house. We didn't have a place to live, and I always wanted to go to Tony Robbins, and my husband was like, "Really, we're gonna go now in the midst of all this?" And I said, "It's a week. It's like 5 days. What's the big deal? Let's just do it." And we did it, and then I got to meet you.
Yeah.
And I'm here now today with you and Luana,
Yeah.
and like
You just don't know what comes
don't know.
next.
You never know who
We-
you're going to
we
meet either,
never
or
know.
what the opportunity is going to be.
exactly,
I know.
But you have to try.
Isn't it crazy how the universe leads you in that way?
Yeah.
100%.
And
I think it's great.
Whenever you're not ready to do something or when there's a lot going on, those are always the best times to do stuff and make it happen. I
Yeah.
feel like when there's a lot going on in life and when I was like, you know what, just do it anyway.
Right.
Let's just add another thing to the plate. We'll fit
We'll
5
figure it
pounds
out.
of shit in a 10-pound bag, you know?
Yeah.
Like you just figure it out and you make it happen.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
probably the best decisions.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like that instant, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and like if it is a failure, don't get stuck in it.
Yeah.
Just move on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I think that this is a perfect example. When I left the show, my storyline was pretty much played out, and it was just not good for me anymore, and for so many different reasons. And a lot of people after I left, there was a lot of people that wanted me to stay on or whatever, but you could be looked at like, oh, you're no longer on the show, and what are you going to do now? And that didn't work out for you. I think that when there's something to be said about that, one door closes, so many other things open up.
Oh yeah.
And be grateful for the time that you were on there and the opportunities that it led you to, and the lessons that you learned.
Yeah.
And then it just prepared you for that
For the next step.
Yeah, for that next thing that opened you up to a whole different
Definitely
thing.
was
Yeah.
You had a purpose doing that, and you had a lot of exposure to do everything else that you wanted to
I
do.
met a lot of people that I never would have met, and learned a lot of things about people as well.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about myself as
Yeah.
well, that I never thought that situations I would be in or opportunities that would come to me would ever happen, and so I'm better for it.
I feel like personally too, like when things happens in my life too, like I learned so much about myself.
Yeah.
Like you just become stronger, like as a person.
Yeah.
Like it could be like, to you, it could be so stupid, but for me, I'm like, damn, like I can't believe this is happening. And then it's like, wow, I just learned a whole thing about myself. And you never know who you are. Like you're always changing, like we talked about. So
Listen, women are diamonds. We have so many different facets.
Yeah, I love that.
There's so many facets to us that you don't let anybody put you in a box. That's for sure.
Love that. Well, Kathy, thank you so much for coming and visiting us today, and like
pleasure.
sharing all your experiences in your life story.
Thank you.
I'm gonna follow up, and I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
tell you about your podcast. Make sure you start before 2025.
I know. Oh
I'm
my
gonna stay
God,
on it now.
This
Get
could be
on
your
it.
first exposure
Yeah.
back.
I know. I'm such a procrastinator when that comes
Yeah.
when it comes to that, but I have to get back into it.
You will.
Yeah.
And it was so nice having you on. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
out.
Thank you.
And I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a lot out of what you spoke about today.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
And until next time, everybody, thanks for watching.
That's a wrap.